Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the March 26, 2026 meeting of the Planning Commission to order. And if we could have roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Here.
Commissioner Cisco? Here. Commissioner Horton?
Here.
Commissioner Pardo?
Here.
Commissioner Sanders?
Here.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Here.
Chair Weeks?
Here.
Let the record reflect that all commissioners are present.
Thank you. And we have no participation under Government Code 54953.8. We have one set of minutes from March 12th. Any changes, corrections, additions? Okay, so those will be approved as submitted. And public comment. This is the time if anybody in the public has a comment on an item that is not on the agenda, please make your way to either of the podium and you'll have 3 minutes. Not on the agenda. Okay, so what item would you like to speak on? Okay, on the Spring Lake Village item? Okay, that is on the agenda. Okay, that's okay. So with that, I don't see anybody going towards the podium for a comment on a non-agenda matter. We will go to commission business. We are charged with carrying out the California planning and zoning laws in the city of Santa Rosa. Duties include implementation of plans, ordinances, and policies relating to land use matters, assisting in writing and implementing the general plan and area plans, holding public hearings, and acting on proposed changes to the zoning code, zoning map, general plan, tentative subdivision maps, and undertaking special planning studies as needed. And with that, we have commissioners' reports. Are there any commissioner reports? I have a couple things I'd like to mention. If you haven't already seen the article in the newspaper, the council on Tuesday denied the appeal on the Pura Vida project and upheld the commission's actions. Probably just stole Ms. Jones' thunder on that. Also, I was able to speak on a panel at Leadership Santa Rosa last week on community development, and I was hoping Mr. Osborne would be here because I heard he did a 1-2 punch about planning in the morning, and I'd love to hear what that was like. And then also on Saturday, I was able to speak at Luciana and the Bridges program also about boards and commissions, and hopefully encourage some people to apply for boards and commissions. So is there anybody who would like to make a comment on what I just said? Please go to the podium. Okay. Then we don't have anything under other, and now we have department report. Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Chair Weeks and members of the commission. I was just going to mention the Pura Vida item, which you already did, so I will not do that. And I don't have anything else for this evening.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments on what Ms. Jones just said? Okay, I don't see anybody. Then we'll move it on to statement of abstentions or recusal. Commissioner Horton.
Thank you. Yeah, for the item that was just mentioned about Spring Lake Village, just out of an abundance of caution, I will recuse myself when that comes up. I have a 1-year lease to live in a house that just kind of is directly adjacent to Spring Lake Village. So it seems like there's potential that the text amendment could affect the, to use the legal term, the use and enjoyment of that, my use and enjoyment of that lease. So just to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest or bias, I will not participate in the discussion or the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. So you'll leave the dais when we get to that point.
Yes, thank you.
And say farewell. Okay, anybody have any comments on what Mr. Horton just said? Okay. We don't have any presentations, any consent items. Our first item is a report item, General Plan and Inclusionary Housing Annual Review Report for 2025. And Ms. Nicholson and Ms. Beasley, I believe, are doing the presentations.
Thank you, Chair Weeks and members of the Commission. My name is Sachin Orbisla, and the
item before you today is the General Plan and Inclusionary Housing Annual Review for 2025. The General Plan Annual Review Report informs the public and decision makers about the progress that the city's made in implementing the general plan and achieving the city's goals, and it also includes the annual review of the Inclusionary Housing Ordinance. This is required by the State Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, as well as the Department of Housing and Community Development, that we submit this report by April 1st of every year. The City Council reviewed the annual report during the March 24th, 2026 council meeting, which is also a requirement prior to submitting the report. The General Plan 2050 was adopted by the City Council on June 3rd, 2025, and it describes the city's aspirations and identifies strategies for managing growth, preservation, and change. It provides policy framework to guide decision-making and funding of public improvement projects, including parks and streets, and it contains 7 chapters covering numerous elements, goals, policies, and actions. And for the housing element, I will hand it off to Amy Nicholson.
Thank you, Nor, and good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. I'm just going to spend a few moments going over housing-related topics as it relates to our housing element as well as our inclusionary housing ordinance. So at the start of last calendar year, we did notice an increase in population, so just under 1% from 2024. This is the second year that we've seen an increase in Santa Rosa's population. Starting in 2017, we saw 5 years of decreases. So this is potentially a trend in the opposite direction. Last year, there were building permits issued for a total of 847 new residential units. Those were primarily comprised of multifamily units, so those could be attached single-family dwellings up to sort of the mid-rise apartment projects. 61 of the units were detached single-family dwellings, and 47 were for accessory dwelling units or junior accessory dwelling units. If you look at the chart here, you can see that last calendar year was a pretty large increase over 2024, representing the 3rd highest year over the past 6 years for new units. The housing element includes what's called the regional housing needs allocation. So this is a number of new housing units that the city must plan for and also produce over a housing element cycle. On this chart, you can see the progress made on the top line in red in 2025 for permits that were issued. There was some good progress in our very low and low income categories. Our moderate income category is 15 units, so that's a category that the city continued or from qualifying commercial developments. And staff has continued to implement the ordinance without issue, and so there are no recommended changes at this time.
The General Plan Annual Review Report highlights several notable residential projects that were either under construction in the building permit phase or in the planning review phase during the year 2025. 2 notable projects that are currently under construction, the phase 1 of the Lance Drive project. The Lance Drive housing development was approved in 2024, and it's planned to be constructed in 3 phases. Phase 1 is currently under construction, began in 2025, and it will have 372 multifamily units, as well as 20 of those will be very low-income units. There's also the Casa Roseland project, which is part of the larger Tierra de Rosa's master plan development. That received building permits in January of 2025, and construction is expected to be complete later this year. They're currently accepting applications. It's a 100% affordable project with 75 units. 30 of those will be very low income, 44 will be for low income, and there will be 1 manager unit on site. The city and county have been working together on the development of the South Santa Rosa specific plan, which is expected to be complete in early winter of 2027. And the preparation of the plan implements several general plan actions including responding to changing community visions for the area, as this area has not seen a comprehensive planning effort in nearly 50 years. And this January, the city released 3 land use and circulation alternatives, and those we are currently collecting feedback on those alternatives in order to come back with a preferred alternative to move forward with. The report also highlights several non-residential developments that are currently either under review or under construction. The Stonehouse Inn project is a proposal to add a 70-room hotel building onto the existing historic Stonehouse site. This is expected to go before, I believe, the Design Review Board and Planning Commission in April. The Ceres Community Project was a project for a new culinary facility that would provide medically tailored meals to those in need. And construction took place throughout 2025, and it's opened its doors in February. And then we have the Dave & Buster's at the Santa Rosa Plaza, which also received planning approvals in 2025 and opened its doors in January. And this supports downtown's economic vitality. There were also several policy projects and new developments. The general plan encourages promoting Santa Rosa as a sports, tourism, and entertainment destination. And in 2025, the city completed the United Soccer League Market Opportunity Report. The city also began exploring options for entertainment zones in downtown pursuant to Senate Bill 969. And this would allow customers to carry to-go alcoholic beverages from their favorite restaurants and bars downtown during certain days and hours. In January, the council, during a study session, supported the initiative and directed staff to move forward with an ordinance that would allow entertainment zones in the downtown and Railroad Square area on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. In 2025, city staff also began the development of a conditional use permit streamlining ordinance that would reduce permitting requirements for several uses in order to support economic growth in the city. And the city also created several programs to support small businesses and increase access for entrepreneurs. This includes the physical and virtual one-stop shops, which provide business resources and services. The Business Concierge Program provides hands-on guidance for permitting and licensing to business owners. The Permit Ready Program helps to streamline approvals. And in collaboration with the county, the city expanded services and resources for street vendors, food trucks, and micro-enterprise home kitchen operations. The economic development team also completed several economic studies and surveys to help guide city investment and policy decisions, and these include analyses of retail, office, and grocery sectors, the USL Market Opportunity Report, which was just mentioned, a citywide district-based survey, and the quarterly economic development reports. And all of these reports and surveys show us district-level trends, challenges, and service gaps to determine where programs and investments are needed. The city also established the Downtown Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, which is a long-term tool to fund infrastructure investments and to catalyze private development and enhance walkability and sustainability. The city also formed partnerships with the Small Business Development Center, which will be holding classes for new businesses and entrepreneurs to teach them how to rent from commercial spaces, as well as Go Local. The city worked with them on the promotion of underrepresented businesses. The general plan also has an element on circulation, which includes transit and transportation. And in February of 2025, the city and MTC unveiled the pilot transit maps and signs to improve wayfinding between the transit mall to the downtown smart station. And this was a part of a larger regional mapping and wayfinding initiative for the entire Bay Area. that aims to connect the 9 Bay Area counties so that whether you are traveling by bus, rail, ferry, or a combination of those, the signs would be easy to identify throughout all 9 counties. And so Santa Rosa was chosen as one of 2 cities to test this out with an initial pilot program. The city bus youth unlimited rides and unlimited ridership programs continue to successfully incentivize transit use. Since implementation of the youth program in 2021, youth ridership saw steady annual increases from 200,000 at that time to around 450,000 per year now. Over the last 2 years, however, ridership remained essentially flat, and this suggests that the program has now fully matured in its efforts to increase ridership. The General Plan 2050 recommended that the city adopt an active transportation plan, which was done in July of 2025. And the plan recommends improvements to the city's active transportation network in order to increase vibrancy and livability for pedestrians and bicyclists, as well as improve air quality, reduce GHG, and reduce collisions. Following this, the city did receive several grants last year, and the Transportation Public Works Department has actively been working to implement the active transportation plan. They've completed several transportation safety projects already, which include new bicycle facilities, crosswalk installations, road diets, and the completion of the Hearn Interchange Overcrossing project. And in February of 2025, the Redwood Bike Share program was launched. The city is continuing to work with the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities, the Transportation Authority of Marin, and SMART to identify and open new hub locations.
The general plan includes 2 additional state-mandated elements, including open space and conservation. So some highlights in implementing those 2 elements include construction starting on the final phase of the Colgan Creek Restoration Project, which is pictured here on this slide. The purpose of that project is to enhance habitat, increase flood protection, as well as provide recreational and education opportunities for our residents. The Stormwater and Creeks team also continued to partner on the Creek Stewardship Program. This is a program that helps to care for the 100 miles of creeks within the city's urban growth boundary through regular cleanups as well as educational opportunities. Greenhouse gas reduction measures are really integrated into all of the elements of the general plan. There is an appendix to the general plan which pulls all of those policies and actions into one place. And so as the commission is familiar, that was adopted as part of the General Plan 2050 this June of 2025, and city staff continue to make progress on numerous measures and programs that are contained within that strategy. One of the goals of city staff is to ensure that the progress is clear to both members of the public and decision makers. And so last year, planning and water staff mapped out a plan to create a public-facing dashboard. This would allow for members of the public and decision makers to understand where various reduction measures are in implementation, as well as how the city is reducing overall emissions. So we have data going back to 1990. The goal is to have that dashboard launched in the summer of this year. The city's general plan also includes several optional elements, including historic, cultural, and tribal cultural resources. So some highlights which implement those 3 elements include the completion of the cannery at Railroad Square project. This is an excellent example of a project that was able to retain the historic elements of that building and integrate it with the modern development. the city staff were able to relaunch self-guided historic walking tours last year, and these walking tours had been available for 4 of the city's 8 preservation districts in a kind of paper form. The relaunched version allows a user to follow along with Google Maps, so it might be a little bit easier to make your way around, and it does include lots of the graphics and additional information as well. And then finally, although it's not often discussed in detail at our decision meetings, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes collaboration and consultation efforts that occur between city staff and our 2 locally affiliated tribes as we work on city projects as well as private development projects. City staff were able to implement additional components of the art and culture element of the general plan by implementing a temporary public art installation to activate public spaces. You can see an example of one of those items in Courthouse Square, as well as the installation of a temporary art walk, which will be in place for 2 years, extending from Courthouse Square through Railroad Square. And then finally, our arts team was able to launch an arts roundtable, and this is a place where non-governmental individuals can meet and help to encourage open community dialogue to further art and culture objectives. The general plan also includes the state-mandated safety element as well as climate resilience policies and actions. These 2 topics are quite related as climate change is exacerbating the city's experiences as it relates to natural disasters and the impacts of those on our built environment. Last year, the fire department started an update on the city's wildland-urban interface boundary maps, also known as the WUI. So this map will move forward to the City Council next month for adoption. The fire department also started the update to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So this is a plan that is updated every 5 years. City staff collectively completed a public draft of what's called a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. This is a county-wide effort. The city of Santa Rosa has its own section, and really the purpose of this plan is to identify the hazards that are more likely within our community and to ensure that we have responses and resources in place. This also helps to ensure Santa Rosa receives the maximum amount of reimbursement money in the event of a disaster. Planning and water staff continued to work with FEMA on preliminary flood map updates for the Santa Rosa Creek watershed last year. Those maps are anticipated to be finalized in 2027. Their planning staff's been working on an evacuation analysis in conjunction with our fire department and emergency preparedness, traffic engineering, and our police department. This is a requirement of our safety element that we analyze a range of emergency scenarios and study the impacts on our traffic network as it relates to evacuation. So this is a process that kicked off in 2025 and will continue throughout this year. This will later be presented to the commission and the council as it ultimately will result in updates to the city's safety element. And then finally, throughout the year, our emergency preparedness staff continued to strengthen their preparedness as well as coordination and operational readiness.
The general plan calls out goals in terms of public services, such as achieving faster response times and providing more opportunities for community engagement. And this was supported by the completion of the downtown substation, which opened at Santa Rosa Plaza. This enhances presence in the area, both downtown and Railroad Square area, and has allowed for faster response times in the area. The police department also continues to oversee the In-Response Mental Health Support Team program, which aids in navigating the complexities of the county's mental health system and secure any necessary resources. The Santa Rosa Fire Department did experience increasing volume of calls for service, about a 12% increase over the past 3 years. However, the fire department also saw improved response times. The general plan sets a goal of achieving a response time of just under 6 minutes, which the fire department achieved 82% of the time in 2025. The fire department is also working on a standards of cover and community risk assessment, and this focuses on response capabilities, response time analysis, resource locations, available resources to serve the city, staffing, and workforce. And finally, the Fire Station 5 in Fountain Grove, which was destroyed in the 2017 wildfires, has been under reconstruction for the past, I believe, 3 years. It is in a new location in Fountain Grove, and that construction completed in 2025. Since 1990 until 2025, the water use efficiency programs and state and local requirements have resulted in a 50% increase in the demand for potable water. This is going from 177 gallons per capita per day in 1990 to 88 in 25. And the Laguna treatment plant is currently undergoing upgrades to the disinfection system. This has been going on since 2022. And these include the addition of a diversion wet well as well as a pump station. Once completed, the system will be able to disinfect a peak flow of 70 million gallons per day. The new general plan identifies equity priority areas where communities disproportionately bear economic, health, and environmental burdens. And the city now requires health impact assessments for large non-residential projects in these areas in order to address potential health impacts. There is also a general plan policy which aims to disincentivize and reduce harmful addictive behaviors, including an action that encourages the exploration of potential restrictions on tobacco and alcohol retailers. In 2025, the tobacco retail license program was implemented, and only those who were existing tobacco retailers were eligible to apply for a license. So this capped the number of tobacco retailers to what was already existing. The city also started the conditional use permit streamlining that was mentioned earlier. This includes reduced permitting requirements for grocery stores, and this is scheduled for council consideration in April 2026. There are several general plan actions which encourage the development of new childcare facilities. And in 2025, the city partnered with regional childcare agencies to identify barriers and created a guide to help residents launch their own licensed home-based childcare business, supporting families and workforce stability. And throughout 2025, the Violence Prevention Partnership continued their work. They developed and launched the Street Outreach and Crisis Response Team in January and the Teen Culinary Job Training Pilot Program in June. Finally, the general plan calls for the continuing acquisition and development of neighborhood and community park facilities throughout the city. Several projects took place in 2025. The Dutch Floor Neighborhood Park in Santa Rosa, which provided more interesting play equipment and improved accessibility through the renovations. The city approved plans for a major court renovation project at both Howarth and Galvin Community Parks. The Martin Luther King Jr. Neighborhood Park Master Plan was approved by the City Council in February of 2026, and this includes a soccer field, courts, picnic areas, and play areas. And the initial segment of the Roseland Creek Trail pathway was installed, which includes a crossing and flashing beacon improving bike and pedestrian connection across the future Roseland Community Park site to access nearby schools. The Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the Planning Commission, by motion, review and accept the General Plan and Inclusionary Housing Annual Review Report for 2025. We are available for any questions. We also have staff from several other departments available to answer any questions, I believe in person and over Zoom. And I just want to give a big thank you to all of the staff across all of the city's departments who have been very helpful and collaborative throughout the development of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a variety of questions. Do other commissioners also have questions? Okay. So I think what I will do is go ahead and open the public comment on this item and see if we have any questions from the public on this, and then bring it back to the commission and we can ask our questions. So if there's anybody who would like to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes. Seeing no one rise, I will close the public comment on this portion. And I just want to say this is a lot of work. In my past life, I helped develop some of this in a couple of different departments, and I know how much work goes into it, and I don't want to give it short shrift because this is an excellent document and it really tells the community where we are right now as a community, and you should be very proud of what's here today. So with that, I will reach out to my fellow commissioners and have them ask questions first, and then I'll end it up. So Commissioner Horton.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for the great presentation. Just a really quick question that occurred to me as you were presenting. Like when we say we issued X number of building permits for units in this income category, like after all the permits are issued, what's just like the ballpark rate of attrition of whether like those units end up getting built or not, right? Because presumably some amount falls off and just for whatever reason, financing or whatever doesn't happen. So after everything's locked in, just what's a just general sense of how many of those end up getting built?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I do not have that information or would even want to venture a guess because it wouldn't be informed. The point at which a building permit is issued, the plans are approved, and we monitor construction starting through inspections, but we haven't run the numbers of how many may or may not drop off through that period. So certainly happy to see if we can pull some of that information together and provide it just for the interest of the commission at a later date.
That'd be great, thanks. And please don't sweat it too much, but just what's the general, range there? Thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just quickly add some clarification. So one thing to point out, the numbers that you're seeing here they've gone past the entitlement phase, which is when the commission typically sees them, and there's less certainty at that point as to whether the projects will move forward. When it gets to the building permit stage, it's more certain. So definitely, as Supervising Planner Nicholson mentioned, there's no guarantee, but for the most part, the units that we identify for our arena purposes that have building permits issued are moving forward.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, thank you, and fantastic job. That is a lot of work and amazing. We should all, give ourselves a silent applause for showing that, people ask for things and we're performing. So it's really great to see. I had a question about the enhanced infrastructure financing. And maybe for the benefit of folks that may not know what that is, can you kind of briefly explain what that is? And then my question then would be, how long does it take for that fund to start turning off some money for our downtown?
It looks like Director Osborne's going to be coming down to help out with that question. And you stole my question, by the way.
Great minds.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. Gabe Osborne, Director of Planning and Economic Development. Excellent question. So typically how enhanced infrastructure financing districts work, they are a form of tax increment financing. So we formed the district late last year, so the district is in effect, and this year the district starts collecting revenue. Now the amount of revenue the district collects is based on the amount of tax increase that happens in the district. So essentially a EIFD freezes the property taxes. So the owners do not see any effect to this, but from a tax collection standpoint, it freezes it. And any increment that occurs just through the general assessed increased value or the assessed increase in value from development, so when 420 Mendocino developed, that's a fairly significant increase, that starts getting directed into the EIFD. So those funds become available in year one if they are generated, and it's usually towards the back end of year one. There's two forms. You can use that money to develop projects, or you can hold that money and then bond for larger projects. So there's decisions to be made. But I think to specifically answer your question, it starts collecting revenue now. The amount is a bit unknown because as it goes through the assessment process, that determines it. But it does start collecting immediately, and those funds become available in that year one, year two, year three mark.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carter?
Yeah, since Terry stole my question, I had a follow-on, Gabe, sorry. I'll ask it and maybe it won't require your attention. So is there a process for identifying priorities for infrastructure improvements in the downtown?
Yeah, so there really are two processes that take place from a prioritization standpoint. The EIFD is really a separate funding source with a separate list of projects. So when we look at the downtown and we look at the infrastructure needs in the downtown, there are various funding sources, impact fees, general capital improvement dollars that can go into street repair. The EIFD, when we go through that process, there's a long effort with the City Council and the Board of Supervisors, because the county did participate in this EIFD, to really understand the types of projects that the EIFD can fund. And what that exercise really settled on are streetscaping, placemaking, general beautification projects. But then there was also a discussion about the more impactful project that can make a real difference in the downtown, more or less the Catalyst project. And there was discussion about performing arts centers, sports entertainment. So the categories are intentionally left broad. And then as the revenue is generated, the Public Financing Authority, which is the governing body over the EIFD, can start developing more project scope. The City Council also has to chime into that from a priority standpoint. So really what happens is you take a very broad category and it starts working into a specific placemaking or lighting project as the revenue is developed and you understand how much revenue you have to work on. So the EIFD has a bit of a different prioritization structure because it does involve a governing board of the Public Financing Authority, but plus a separate council decision. And that's a little different in how the city as a whole determines capital project and 5-year plans for CIP in the downtown and the surrounding area.
I think you probably should stay there. Commissioner Sanders.
Yeah, please don't go anywhere. Is this for downtown specifically? Is that correct?
Yes, so the EIFD boundary has a boundary that is less than our downtown station area plan. Okay. It is within it, and it was really intended to surround the majority of the commercial properties in the downtown. So it shrinks down a bit, but it is focused on the downtown, but it does include the Railroad Square area in that.
And when you're saying that the property taxes are frozen, it's frozen within that area only?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I have other questions, but I just wanted to tag on while Mr. Osborne is still sitting here.
Good.
So in this kind of district structure, do they get dissolved after a certain point of time, or how long is this district established for?
It's an excellent question. It's 45 years typically. Really there are different starting dates. So really it looks at the accumulation over that period of time. So these districts, as you can imagine, as the tax increment is going up, the amount that you take in on the front end is fairly small and then it grows over time. Typically what jurisdictions will do is they'll bond at a certain point in time and do larger projects with this. One of the challenges with it in EIFD is it attempted to replace redevelopment when we had redevelopment agencies, but the available money is not always there up front. So there's more of a long-term investment. And then at the termination of the EIFD, the city then receives all that increment back, as well as the county. So it all turns back, but the EIFD holds on to any dollars it collected during that lifespan.
Thank you.
So any other questions for Mr. Osborne while he is down here? Okay, I have a couple. The first one has to do with the commercial linkage fee, which was mentioned. When reading through the report, I don't find an indication as to where that money goes and what it's used for.
So thank you for the question, Chair. The commercial linkage fee, as it relates to the inclusionary housing ordinance, goes to the city's housing authority. So it's combined with our housing impact fee money that we take in, and then it's used to either provide new affordable housing units or to rehabilitate or preserve existing affordable housing units.
But that's not separate from the other inclusionary funds that go to that housing fund because there's specific money that goes to commercial linkage fee? Or is it all one that goes to housing?
It all goes to housing. So back in 2019, when the city adopted the inclusionary housing ordinance that we have now, one of the new components of it, because we previously had something similar, the new component was adding a commercial linkage fee. And so that was really to tie the relationship to new commercial uses with the need for affordable housing. Not all commercial projects will be subject to this fee, but the ones that were brought in just under $200,000 last year.
Okay, thank you. And then I have some questions around economic development that I think you probably can help answer. What's the partnership with Go Local?
So really go local. I think from an economic development standpoint, what we have really worked through is understanding how you can support really local businesses, how you can support more of the shop local, how you can support more of the local businesses in the community and bring those dollars in. So much of those initiatives are focused around that. It's really understanding from a sales tax generation standpoint, there obviously is really an importance from a national retailer standpoint because they're driving a lot of those sales, but there's also an importance to support our local businesses and make sure that we can have those smaller businesses be the fabric of that, structure in the overall economic piece. So it really more or less speaks to our overall strategy for Go Local.
So it's a partnership with the organization that issues the Go Local cards.
It is correct.
Okay. The Art Walk, is there a brochure somewhere that one can find online? I'm sorry, I didn't look that up before.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
It's a map and it shows the locations.
Great.
And I can
That's
read
okay.
out that
I can-
URL too in just a moment if I check my notes. But
That's okay.
it is available on the city's
Good,
website.
thank you. The issue around USL and what comes after the marketing report?
So typically with the exploration of the United Soccer League, obviously that is really at a high level at this point. There's been more discussion regionally about location. I'm sure you all heard the conversation about the fairgrounds and some of the discussion there. Really what you have to understand when you determine that there is a need in the market for that type of use, and that's really what the market report looks like, is how many soccer fans we have here, how much of a demand there is for use. Oftentimes that then moves into site selection and a determination on how you build the capital stack to make the project work. But very much of that, it becomes a chicken and egg discussion about site or financial strategy. But as you move forward, it gets more into the capital project discussion of how things get built in various locations. And much of the conversation, once you get through the market analysis, which USL has been able to show that need does exist in the community. We have a very strong soccer community here. It's understanding how you can figure out what are really the bigger challenges is how you build it and where.
Great, thank you. And let's see, the walking tour, the historic walking tour, was very cool. And I love the partnership with the Historical Society and the fact that it was in honor of Ross Parkerson, who a lot of us knew, or some of us knew, are still around who knew him, and his love of the old neighborhoods. So I think that's a very cool thing. And I do have one question for Mr. Lowenthal. So you don't have to waste your time just hanging out here again for the third day in the row. And it has to do with the increase in calls by fire. And it looks like that the majority of calls are medical. Is that correct? And if so, has that been an increase over the years? And maybe next year we could have a chart that shows, you know, medical versus fire over like the last few years?
So thank you, Chair Weeks, for the question. Paul Lowenthal, Division Chief Fire Marshal with the Fire Department. We produce what we refer to as an annual report, which does have those statistics. So I'd be happy to supply that to the staff here to forward on to you for not only this year, but the last several years. Yes, the majority of our calls are medical related. We did see a call volume increase over the last couple years. However, with the implementation of a couple of our paramedic squads over the last year and a half or so, we were able to meet our response times a lot better than we typically had, where you saw the response times go up to 81% for those responses within the 6-minute goal. But again, happy to provide you with kind of the breakdown of the last several years. And I am here for another item, so no worries.
Okay, thank you. As long as he is here, does anybody? Okay, Vice Chair Duggan.
I've got one question. There's mention made in the report about the evacuation assessment. I guess a contract was just let for that. And what's the timeline of that report, and what will be done with it once it's been completed? Like, how will it be shared with the community?
Yeah, so you're referring to the analysis that we're doing for evacuations that's tied to both our multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan as well as our city's general plan. So the staff that you actually hear with you tonight are working very closely with our department as well as our emergency manager, Neil Bregman, in consultation also with our consultants. So there's been a lot of really good work that's going into it. Right now, we are at the point of the process where we're putting together different scenarios and running different analysis. But I'm going to let Amy jump in since she's been spearheading that with emergency manager Neil Bregman.
Great, thank you for the question. We anticipate this entire kind of technical process to take about 6 months, so we're in the beginning phase of it. As the fire marshal mentioned, we are honing in on our emergency scenarios that will be analyzed. There will be some technical research that happens, at which point we'll get to some recommendations, and we'll be able to share those with the community. So what we found and what recommendations may help to alleviate some of the issues that are identified through this analysis. Following that, there could potentially be updates to the city's safety element. So if there are policies or actions that we can put in place in the general plan, we would do that following the recommendations in the community outreach. Then that would come before the commission and ultimately the council for adoption. So it would be a general plan amendment to integrate any recommendations that come out of the analysis. So that process would follow sort of the 6-month technical and community outreach piece and could lead into, you know, another 6 to 8 months following that first 6 months. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Great.
Okay, Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you. So if I got it right, 12% increase in call volume, hitting the 6-minute mark 81% of the time, with an increase in population of 1%. Bravo. Well done. I guess my question then is, with the population increase, what's the population increase before we start talking about needing a new firehouse?
So thank you for the question, and I'm going to try and peel this one back a little bit. So the need to provide additional services in the city dates back to late 90s, early 2000s with the recommendation to put a fire station in Southeast Santa Rosa. Right now, through Measure H, that is what is occurring right now as we're moving forward with the acquisition and potential development of a fire station number 9 that is hoping to be located south end of the city limits on the east side of Santa Rosa Avenue. That would provide a relief to what we refer to as our Fire Station 8, which is currently on Burbank Avenue and moving over to Hearn, as well as the downtown Station 1. Which currently houses Engine 1 and currently Engine 9 through Measure H. The goal would be to move the Measure H apparatus out of Station 1 and down to Station 9 to fill that void down there. Part of the standards of coverage that was referred to earlier in the presentation is currently in draft form, and that's going to make some recommendations on where else we should look at potentially providing additional services and or relocating fire stations. There's been talk in the past about potentially relocating Station 6 further to the Oakmont area, and then potentially opening up a Station 12 in between Station 5 and that new location of Station 6, probably likely in somewhere in the area of Middle Rincon and Montecito, where we have kind of the biggest hole with Stations 6 and 7 kind of serving that east side of Santa Rosa, which is a pretty large population. And when there's drawdowns in those areas, it has a trickle-down effect on the rest of the city, which then increases response times.
And what do you attribute the increase to, the 12%?
Our assumption, obviously, is that the increase in call volume is likely related to development and increase in housing units. With more population comes more residents, but also a lot of the work that our team does with PED is helping to bring new businesses into our community. And so it's not just the number of housing units, but it's also the success of a lot of our businesses here in the community, whether it's Dave & Buster's, whether it's the increase in population in the Montgomery Village area. When you bring more people to our community, you're going to see more increased call for services.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, so thanks, Paul. We don't have a resolution, but I'd like someone, if they would, to make a motion that would be to review and accept the report. So somebody willing to do that? Okay. And second? Okay. So that was moved by Commissioner Sanders, seconded by Commissioner Carter, and we'll start with Commissioner Horton for comments before the vote.
Thank you, Chair. No other comments from me, and I've reviewed and accepted all the findings of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
I echo the same sentiment.
Commissioner Carter.
I support the motion, and I'd like to add that I wish there was a way to make this more palatable and consumable, because showing how the city's actions originate in the general plan is a message that needs to get out there all the time. So thanks for doing that.
Commissioner Pardo.
I'm in approval of the project.
Thank you. Commissioner Cisco.
Yeah, I just echo everything that other commissioners have said about what an amazing piece of work. I mean, I'm always so impressed when we get it, like how much is going on that, and I think I know a lot about what's going on, and then I find out there's a lot more going on than I knew about. And this one is particularly interesting because it's the first review of our new general plan format, so I found that to be very interesting, but it is an amazing piece of work, and really congratulate the staff and all the departments that worked on it. And I'll be accepting the report.
And Vice Chair Duggan.
I was going to say the same thing Commissioner Cisco just said, and thank you for all your hard work. And I know it's like herding cats to get all this information and get it in this form. And this is one of my favorite meetings every year, just because it's so interesting to hear what's been going on in the city. So I can make all the findings that are required.
Thank you. And I also can accept the report and feel this should be required reading for everybody, but how you can make that happen, I don't know. Thanks again for all your hard work on this, and with that, if we could have a vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton?
Aye.
Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that motion passes with 7 ayes.
Thank you. And so we are going to be going now to item 11.1. Let me find my, this is a public hearing. Oh, and I'd like to thank all the staff who's out there in Neverland on Zoom who had a late night on this item on Tuesday and are probably hopefully can all go home now. So item 11.1, this is a public hearing, 27-7 Foods and Fuel CUP, Planning Record 3230, Coffee Lane, PLN 25-0348, and this is an ex parte item. So Commissioner Horton.
I have visited the site.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
I as well have visited the site and have nothing further to add.
Commissioner Carter.
I visited the site and have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Vice Chair Duggan.
I also visited the site and have nothing further to report.
Commissioner Cisco.
I visited the site and have nothing further to report.
Commissioner Pardo.
I too visited the site and have nothing else to report.
Thank you. And I visited the site and have nothing further to report. So with that, lead us off.
Good afternoon. The project in front of you today is 24/7 Foods and Fuel Spirit Cells located at 3230 Coffee Lane. And alcohol sales require a major conditional use permit, which is why we're in front of the Planning Commission tonight. The applicant is proposing to add spirit sales for off-site consumption, and this site was already approved for wine and beer sales, as you'll see on the next slide. And here, this slide shows a brief project history of the site. On January 31st, 2001, Minor Project 97-002 approved wine sales for off-site consumption. On July 30th, 2004, Minor Project 04-018 was approved, allowing beer and wine sales for off-site consumption. On August 14th, 2025, this project application was submitted, and 2 weeks later, it was deemed complete. On March 6, 2026, a notice of public hearing was distributed. And here is an aerial view of the proposed location, which is in the northwestern quadrant of Santa Rosa at the intersection of Coffee Lane and Pine Road, and the yellow star indicates the proposed location. And here, the zoning land use designation is light industrial, which is consistent with the general plan land use designation of light industry. And as you can see on the slide, this site is surrounded by other industrial uses. And this slide shows an alcohol-related crime density map. And under further review, you can see that most of these crimes are at intersections or busy commercial corridors. And yes, there were some activity at or near the proposed location of spirit cells. However, this does not mean that the store was responsible for selling alcohol to the person who committed a crime. And this is a floor plan. And the blue rectangle represents the entrance, whereas the red rectangle indicates the register. And the green triangle represents the product location, which complies with zoning code section 2042.034B5, which states that alcohol should not be placed within 5 feet of the entrance nor the checkout. And this is a site plan of the site, and the site is delineated by the red outline, and this site is developed with 12 self-service gas pumps, 2 self-storage units, a car wash, and a store itself. This project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and it is categorically exempt pursuant to SEQA guidelines section 15301 because this is an existing facility. At this time, there are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review. No public comment has been received for this project. Staff analysis has concluded that all findings can be met, and the applicant has reviewed and accepted all conditions of approval. It is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Planning Commission approve resolution for a conditional use permit to allow spirit sales for off-site consumption at 3230 Coffee Lane. And my contact information is at the bottom left of the screen, should you have any questions.
Thank you. Is there a presentation by the applicant? Okay, yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Steve Rawlings. I am here representing the Bunting family that owns the real estate and operates the business. As for the record, we do concur with the staff's recommendation and do agree to all of the conditions of approval as presented to you this evening. I wanted to add some additional comments and also address one issue that has recently come up. It was brought to my attention this afternoon, and I shared it with Mr. Bunting here, that there's been a food truck operating there without a permit. Mr. Bunting and his son were unaware that any type of permitting was necessary for that. So I want to assure the commission that that was brought to our attention today. That operation will cease, and if it is to happen again, we will make sure that we have all the proper permits in place for that particular operation. The request that is before you this evening is driven very much by a product that is referred to as ready-to-drink beverages. We're all probably very familiar with White Claws and Trulies and those types of products. They have become very popular in the last 10 years. The traditional products that were originally released by those companies were made from beer or malt type of product, and we were able to sell those products under a Type 20 license. However, all of those companies have now come out with new products such as White Claw Vodka Soda or Truly Lime Margarita, and there is an ingredient of either tequila or vodka. Most of these drinks are what you would refer to as very watered down. Their alcohol by volume is someplace in the 5% to, say, 8% range. So by comparison, a bottle of Chardonnay is going to run about 13 or 14% alcohol by volume, and we're able to sell that now. A Modelo beer, which is the most popular beer product on the market, runs right at about 5% alcohol by volume as well. So these drinks have become very, very popular due to taste. I have not tasted one of these products before, but by all accounts on all of the industry statistics, by far and away, these are the hottest products growing. Beer sales have declined, wine sales have declined, but this particular segment of the market, which is the ready-to-drinks containing a small quantity of distilled spirits, is the fastest growing segment of the market. The Bunting family and their operation would like the opportunity to be able to inventory those types of products. That is also true for all of the other major chains that you might be familiar with, the AMPMs and the Chevrons. So they have been actively seeking a Type 21 license. A little bit of background on that. There was legislation a couple of years ago that went through Sacramento, but it was vetoed. The proposal was that any alcoholic beverage that had an alcohol by volume of less than 10%, so in the same range as a beer, could be allowed to be sold under the Type 20. That legislation failed, and hence, therefore, ABC says even if you want to sell these watered-down RTDs, you have to obtain a Type 21 license. So that's the real driver for this particular request here. Yes, we are allowed the privilege of being able to sell bottles of spirits. Those bottles would be stored in a locked cabinet behind the cashier, and I think on the floor plan you can see it's a rather small footprint, and we have conditions of approval that ensure that that's where that product would have to be displayed at all times. over the past years, as I mentioned before, this has become a very hot product, and this business, who has had an excellent track record about their beer and wine sales, would like the opportunity to be able to offer this particular product as well. So with that, I'm available for any questions that anybody may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant or of staff at this time? Commissioner Cisco.
Yeah, I have a question of staff.
Okay.
And it's mainly for educational purposes for us as the commission. I also want to compliment you on how you gathered together and presented to us the crime statistics and police statistics. It was great. But again, for education purposes, in the staff report, it says the ABC area, 6 licenses were allowed, and now there are 12. So could you just explain the process that the city went through in order to allow the extra 6?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. The city does not deal with concentration of alcohol licenses, as you're probably aware. That comes from ABC, and when an establishment wants to add a license in a location that is beyond what ABC has determined is the total concentration, they then require a what's called a PCN, sorry, it's been a long week, public convenience or necessity determination, which is made by the city. So that application comes to the city. It is a determination that is made at the director level to determine if there is a demonstrated public need or necessity for the additional alcohol license. Typically, when staff is reviewing this, we're really looking at crime information, working with our police department to make sure that there's no issue from a police perspective for adding that, again, because the city does not have concentration requirements. Does that answer your question?
That's my question, and that's what I wanted us all to understand. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank the applicant for addressing the food truck, because that was I had that question. So Commissioner Sanders.
I have a question for the applicant. You mentioned that, forgive me, I'm not going to be able to regurgitate the names of these low, watered down alcohol drinks, though I do know what a White Claw is. And that is, you're saying around 5%. Are you saying that the applicant is only looking to stock these sort of watered down distilled spirits? Because, as White Claw is around 5%, just looking it up, they make this thing called a Surge, which is 8% and comes in a 19-ounce can. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit different than, what is a glass of wine, 5 ounce? 19-ounce can, 8%. So are we saying that they're not going to carry that type of thing? It's only going to be the sort of 5% watered down stuff?
Certainly. Thank you for that question. The RTDs, ready-to-drink beverages, is kind of the acronym that's used in the industry there. They do range in terms of the alcohol by volume content, so they would be anywhere from 5. The top selling ones, which is what they are going to want to inventory, right, are ranging someplace between the 5 and 10% range there. And so, yeah, and if you take a craft beer, a lot of craft beers are around the 7 or 8% alcohol by volume. And as I pointed out earlier, a wine is going to be 13 or 14%. And wine bottles are sold at 700. Your traditional wine bottle is 750 milliliters, which is going to give you about 4 6 to 8 ounce pours out of each of those bottles. So those bottles are more like 24 ounces, if I got my math right. It's going to be somewhere in that particular neighborhood.
Thank you. Just for clarity, a craft beer costs maybe $6, whereas a White Claw may cost $3. So it's a little bit different, right?
Correct. And as I mentioned, any of the products that are, a traditional bottle of spirit is going to be more, a much higher alcohol by volume, and that is why it's stored and only displayed behind the cashier there. And I also wanted to, point out to everybody that part of our conditions are that we have to have responsible beverage training service for our people that are engaged in the sale of alcoholic beverages. Those programs are approved by ABC. ABC sponsors one of their own programs that most retailers use. They emphasize it's a seminar type of format. There is a test at the end, but those are they emphasize two big things. One is conducting proper identification checks so that you're, eliminating, hopefully, no sales to minors. This company utilizes a scanning device to help, they look at it visually and then they scan it. And the second thing is that they focus in on signs of intoxication, because a little known fact, it is illegal to sell to somebody who is displaying intoxicated behavior. ABC runs those type of sting operations quite a bit, and not only does the business kind of get fined and have a mark on their license, the individual employee is going to get a fine as well. As a person, they're going to get a citation, and in this company's policy, they will be terminated immediately. So, and they are very well educated on those couple of things that I just pointed out to you there.
Thank you. I have one question for staff, if I may. On one of the slides, it mentioned that the alcohol-related crimes in that location was 20, 21, 22 incidents. Are those individual incidents that we saw there?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
So there was one slide that showed the alcohol-related crime statistics. And I believe that at that location, there were like maybe 22. Are those 22 separate instances of an alcohol-related crime?
Yes.
Okay. And how many alcohol-related crimes are acceptable before we start saying, maybe we should take another look?
I don't have the answer, and police isn't here, but I can get back to you and ask police about that. And within the staff report, there's a letter from police that says they have no issues with this. So I can get back to you with the answer.
Right. That's tough because we have to make a decision now, so that's hard. Because if the alcohol-related crime thing is 23, well, then this is at 22, it's right on the cusp, so maybe we can get a little clarity.
Commissioner, if I may, just to add a little bit. So I don't think that there is a line, in the sand as to, when is too many. But as Planner Briscoe mentioned, this item was referred to our police department. We've been working very closely with them, particularly after our last Planning Commission meeting, to make sure that we fully understood the crime issues in the areas. And so they took a very good look at this item and did not indicate any concerns with the number of crimes that were in this area and adding this alcohol license to it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Commissioner Carter.
First of all, thanks, Jan, and again for a succinct and thorough staff report and presentation. There was one of the slides said there's currently 12 licenses in the census district. I'm assuming this 21 type license will replace one of those and we'll end up with the same number. Is that correct? Or will this add another license in the census district?
If I may, yes, the existing type 20 license will be canceled upon the issuance of the type 21 license.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. If you have any comments, please make your way to one of the podiums. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing no one rise, I'll close the public hearing on this item and bring it back to the commission. Would somebody like to enter the resolution?
I can do that. I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and determinations and approving a conditional use permit for alcohol sales, distilled spirits for off-site consumption with fresh produce located at 3230 Coffee Lane, file number PLN 25-0348, and waive further reading of the text.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so that was moved by Commissioner Cisco, seconded by Vice Chair Duggan, and we'll start with Commissioner Horton for comments.
Thank you, Chair. Just very brief comments from me. I strongly support this. I think it's in the public interest, and I just appreciate the time the applicant has taken and the time the staff have taken and the fantastic presentation as usual. So I can make all the required findings and declarations, and we'll be voting yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
I as well can make all the required findings and will support the resolution.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter.
I can make the required findings, and I'll be supporting the resolution.
Thank you. Commissioner Pardo.
I too can make all the required findings and an approval of the resolution for the conditional use permit.
Thank you. Commissioner Cisco.
I too can make the required findings and will vote for approval of the conditional use permit. And again, really appreciate how staff pulled. It makes our job so much easier, and I can feel like I have a lot more confidence in making this approval. So thank you.
Vice Chair Duggan.
I'm also in support of the resolution and can make all the findings.
Thank you. And I also will be supporting the resolution and can make all the required findings. So with that.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton?
Aye.
Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that that resolution passes with 7 ayes.
Thank you. Thank you all on this. And we will move on to item 11.2. We'll wait just a minute while we let Mr. Horton. Okay, so actually we'll take about a 5-minute break and then we'll come back.
I spoke with the applicant in a Zoom meeting, and many years ago, I had a professional relationship with a member of the applicant team, but that was a long time ago.
Commissioner Sanders.
I misspoke. I was on autopilot. I did visit the site. I did meet with the applicant.
Okay.
Sorry, that was just
Thank you.
knee jerk. I met with the applicant and also met with a neighbor at the across the way Villa
Los Alamos.
Los Alamos. Yes.
Commissioner Pardo.
I also visited the site and I met with the applicant via Zoom.
Thank you. Commissioner Cisco.
I visited the site and met with the applicant's representative, and nothing else to disclose.
Vice Chair Duggan.
I visited the site and also had a Zoom meeting with the applicant's representative.
And I've also visited the site and had a Zoom meeting with, or had a in-person meeting, sorry, with the applicant's representative, and nothing further to disclose. So with that, now, Ms. Shakala, you can
Thank you.
lead us off.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Weeks, and good evening, members of the Commission. The project before you is Spring Lake Village East Grow. So the project is an expansion of the existing Spring Lake Village Continuing Care Retirement Community located on Montgomery Drive. The proposal would add 32 independent units on a nearby parcel, which would include 14 cottage-style units and a 3-story villa that has 18 units. The project site also would include a community building, outdoor common areas, and on-site and off-site improvements. The image below here, it shows the existing Spring Lake Village campus and the proposed expansion in red color. And the star here indicates the location of the project, and in the next 3 slides, I'm gonna go over the required entitlements for this project. So the project requires approval of a conditional use permit. Under our zoning code, community care facilities with more than 6 beds require a use permit in all residential zones and must be located at least 300 feet from another facility. The proposed project meets this spacing requirement and would function as an expansion of the existing Spring Lake Village campus and would have same operations and managements. The project would also require approval of a hillside development permit because a portion of the project site have slopes that are greater than 10%, and the proposed project would involve grading in those areas. However, the project has been designed to minimize disturbance to natural topography and vegetation, and it meets city's hillside development standards. Also, as a result of this project, the site located at 225 Los Alamos Road will require to be rezoned to PD from rural residential to PD to be consistent with the current zone of the Spring Lake Lake Village. And also as a result of this rezoning to PD, the current policy statement for the Spring Lake Village will be amended accordingly. And here is where the project is located at the corner of Highway 12 and Los Alamos Road. The zone for this parcel is rural residential with scenic road combining district, and the general planned land use is low density residential. And here I will go over the history of this project. So the project was originally submitted in 2014 for 24 independent senior living units. In 2016, the city issued a notice of preparation for the environmental impact report and held a scoping meeting to receive feedbacks from community agencies and tribes. And the same year, the applicant made changes to the project, added 2 additional parcels to the overall project site, and increased the number of units from 24 to 32 units. As a result of this change, another notice of preparation was sent out. And in 2021, the draft environmental impact report was released for public review, and it was presented to the Planning Commission for comments. Following the circulation of the draft EIR, the applicant elected to move forward with alternative 2, maximum avoidance alternative, which is identified in the draft EIR as a environmentally superior alternative. And in 2024, after 3 years, the project was inactive due to change of ownership. The applicant submitted plans. In the same year, the project was presented also to the Design Review Board as a concept item. And in 2025, following additional consultation with the tribe, the applicant made further modifications to Alternative 2 and submitted revised plans. And in March this year, on March 11, the final EIR was also released for public view. So in this next 4 slides, I'm going to go over the changes that have been made since 2014. This is a project site when the application was submitted in 2014. That shows 24 proposed units, and they were all on the current vacant parcel. And this slide shows when the project was modified in 2016, added 2 additional parcels, and the number of the units were increased to 32 units. And this slide shows the site plan for Alternative 2 maximum avoidance alternative. This is the alternative that several planning commissioners expressed interest, and it was their preferred option for approval. And the applicant elected to pursue this alternative and submitted plan reflecting this plan. And as you can see, it reduces the overall development footprints and minimizes ground disturbance. And here is the slide that shows the modified version of Alternative 2 submitted in 2025, which is the project before the Planning Commission for review. As you can see, this version further reduces the development footprint, removes the 2 parcels with existing single-family homes from the project area, and minimizes grading while maintaining the proposed 32 units. From 2016 to 2026, the city conducted tribal consultation with representatives from Little Rancheria and Federated Indians of Greater Rancheria. The process began with a formal AB 52 notification and continued through meetings, site visits, cultural resource study, testing requests, and ongoing review of project and environmental materials. Throughout the consultation process, tribal input and requests led to changes in the project design and the modification of mitigation measures, which required additional testing to further reduce potential impacts to cultural and tribal cultural resources. Following an extensive and productive consultation process, the city sent a pre-closure letter to Federated Indians of Greater Rancheria in June 2025 and a closure letter on Monday, March 23rd. The letter outlined the good faith effort and project modification made at the tribe request. Yesterday, the city received a letter from the tribe indicating objection to closing consultation. However, the city has found that good faith effort has been made, and therefore the city considers consultation complete. And as for the CEQA, as you know, I mentioned in the beginning, the project had gone through a long, extensive environmental impact report, and our consultant will go over the process and give you the highlights of the key findings.
All right, thank you, Monet. Good evening, Chair Weeks and Commissioners. My name is Brian Bacciarini. I'm a consultant with JHD, and I will give a brief 5-minute overview of the EIR. All right, there we go. So the draft EIR was circulated for public and agency review in 2021. As Monet described, it evaluated the originally proposed project as well as one design alternative. So during the public review, there was a Planning Commission public hearing where comments were received, as well as through written letters from the public and reviewing agencies. So the draft EIR identified impacts and mitigation for these topics here. I'll just walk through them briefly. For wildfire, mitigation is included to reduce potential for fire during construction. For noise, mitigation includes reducing construction noise and vibration, and for ensuring that mechanical equipment and the emergency generator meet the city noise limits. For bike safety, mitigation includes placing signage on Los Alamos Road. For biological resources, mitigation includes protections for special status species, nesting birds and bats. It also includes compensating for fill of a very small seasonal wetland and a roadside drainage, and for protection and then replacing trees that would be removed in accordance with the city's tree ordinance. Mitigation is also included to prevent erosion, protect water quality, and to prevent potential impacts to paleontological resources if encountered. And then finally, for cultural resources and tribal cultural resources, mitigation includes treatment plan, monitoring during construction, avoidance measures, and other procedures to minimize disturbance. The originally proposed project resulted in 3 significant unavoidable impacts. Alternative 2 did not result in significant unavoidable impacts. So for that reason, it was identified as the environmentally superior alternative. So the next few slides will just highlight a few of the changes to the project in the environmental setting that Monet and I have discussed so far. As Monet explained, after the draft EIR was released, the project was paused. The city and the applicant took a closer look at the project and the alternatives, and then the focus shifted to alternative 2. The city then conducted the additional Native American tribal consultation that Monet mentioned, and as well as additional departmental reviews of the new project plans. A refined version of alternative 2 was ultimately developed, and that's what is being proposed now. And the modifications were discussed and evaluated in that final EIR. So another change was the addition of off-site transit improvements along Highway 12. These include moving the westbound bus stop to before the Los Alamos intersection and then extending the sidewalk to the eastbound stop to improve ADA access. Another change was to the environmental setting along Los Alamos Road. So after the draft EIR was released, PG&E completed a project within the city right-of-way, included a new utility vault. You can see there a driveway and utility lines. So the final EIR discusses this and reviewed these changes. This slide summarizes what is included in the final EIR. It includes copies of all the written comment letters, summaries of the Public and Planning Commission comments, and responses to each comment received. It also includes 8 master responses that address common concerns, along with an evaluation of the project changes that we just went over. We looked very closely at whether recirculation of the draft EIR was required and determined it was not. The project is a refinement of an alternative that was already evaluated in the draft EIR, and the changes were evaluated and determined not to result in any new or worse impacts. So final slide, just overall summary. The draft EIR evaluated the original project in alternative 2. Alternative 2 was identified as the environmentally superior alternative. The draft EIR was circulated for the review. Comments were received, and then after that, the project was paused to allow time to further evaluate and refine alternative 2. A modified version of alternative 2, as Monet has discussed, is now proposed, and the final EIR documents the full CEQA record for the project. So that concludes my overview. Thank you. Monet?
And I have to continue my presentation now. So since the project was notified 3 weeks ago, staff have received 5 emails. One of them were questioning the final EIR document, and they wanted to review it, which I shared the link for draft and final EIR, and also we received 4 emails from neighbors within the vicinity project site. They were opposing the project due to fire evacuation, traffic, pedestrian safety, and biological resources and traffic collision in that area. Staff provided the final EIR and the draft EIR documents to these commenters and explained that all these topics were analyzed and evaluated in those documents. And with that, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Planning Commission, by 5 resolution, recommend that the City Council, 1, certify the final EIR, adopt CEQA findings of fact and a mitigation monitoring and reporting program. 2, approve a minor conditional use permit for a community care facility. 3, approve a hillside development permit. 5, adopt the rezoning of 225 Los Alamos Road to PD, and next, adopt a text amendment to PD. For the Spring Lake East Grove project, consisting of 32 independent senior living units located at 225 Los Alamos Road, 5808 and 5815 Melita Road. The applicant has a verbal presentation. If there are no questions to staff, we can listen to the applicant. Okay, thank you. That was my presentation.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and hear from the applicant and then bring it to the commission for questions of staff and the applicant. And if you could say your name for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary McMullen. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Front Porch, which is the nonprofit aging services and senior living owner of Spring Lake Village. I just wanted to take some time to express the importance of how this modest development will address not only the need for senior housing, but also general housing in Santa Rosa, because we attract local folks who move to our community and free up housing for new families. In addition, as part of Front Porch, Spring Lake Village brings great experience and a solid legacy of innovation and attention to detail that we will continue in this new neighborhood. We are an employer of choice in Santa Rosa, and our residents are an integral and important asset for the Santa Rosa community, so we will add to that asset if this is approved. Our residents invest their time, talent, and donations in local nonprofits and in supporting local businesses through their commerce. As you could see from the timeline, Spring Lake Village and Front Porch have invested years, almost a decade, in this planning process because we believe this neighborhood is a responsible expansion. Our commitment to planning extends to our commitment to continued partnership with the city on fire management and evacuation preparation. Our commitment also extends to the pedestrian and bike path and shuttle for residents to integrate the campuses and to continue our collaboration with city traffic to manage the load on Montgomery Drive. Through the extensive revisions made to the plan, we have shown our dedication to resolving key issues and creating an additional asset for Santa Rosa. I know we have other comments. I do ask for your support of the application and invite your questions of me and the project team.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Schussman. I'm an attorney at Perkins Coie. I've been assisting the applicant with this project since its inception, which has been a very, very long time. As you've seen, the CEQA process for this project has been extensive. It has been thorough. And it's really been the result of a lot of hard work by your city staff, by the EIR consultant, by the members of the community that took the time to comment thoughtfully about the environmental report, and the tribes who have engaged in consultation, as well as the applicant team. And all of that hard work has gone into a project that now comes before you with no significant environmental impacts after mitigation, which is quite an accomplishment. I do want to touch on tribal cultural resources. The consultation has been extensive. Between 2017 and 2021, in particular, a lot of consultation occurred. The consultation focused on several topics. One was the types of studies that should be performed to identify the potential cultural resources on the site. The applicant team submitted the normal archaeological study that one submits for an EIR. That study showed a boundary, showed some archaeological resources on the site. The tribal representatives asked for some additional studies, some that were not commonly done, but nevertheless, the applicant team agreed to them, paid for them, and had the studies undertaken. The tribes were invited to participate in the studies and to monitor during the studies. The consultations also addressed the mitigation measures to be included in the EIR. The tribes were given the opportunity to weigh in on those measures and to make amendments to them. The tribes were provided the text of the EIR and were allowed to consult on that. And then, of course, the development of the maximum avoidance alternative, which the applicant team, the city, really worked hard to change the project completely in order to maximally avoid cultural resources and tribal cultural resources. And the tribes were provided drafts of that and were able to comment upon it all along the way to get it to the place where it is now. After the EIR went out, and we received comments. Again, the city consulted with the tribes, and as you know, further modifications were made to the project in response to the tribes' comments, including the commitment to do further studies on the area that are outside the boundaries that were determined by the prior studies. So to the extent there's anything unknown out there, we will make sure that that's discovered ahead of time and that consultation continues to occur with the tribes to make sure that all resources are handled in the most respectful way possible. We also moved several of the components even farther from sensitive areas. So in sum, we are disappointed that the tribes have objected to the closure of consultation, but I do want to say that this is not the end of this collaboration, that under the mitigation measures in the EIR, tribal monitors will be on site. There are many steps for further consultation to occur, all during the process. The applicant team will do so in the most respectful way possible. We do agree with staff that closure of consultation is appropriate, and we ask for this commission to recommend support. And again, we really do thank staff for all of the hard work at every point along the way, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So I'll bring it to staff. Are there any questions of staff, the applicant, or the consultant before I open the public hearing? Okay, so with that, I will open the public hearing on this item. If you'd like to make a comment, please make your way to one of the two podiums. You'll have 3 minutes. There will be a countdown timer on the screen there, and I think over there, for you to be aware of your time. So, and we'll use both podiums. And there's a button on the side of each podium to either raise it or lower it. And before you start, if you could please state your name for the record. Okay. And you might want to, that button.
Okay, hopefully this is, you can hear me clearly.
Yes, you have to get like...
real close.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
My name is Rachel. I am one of the many residents at Villa Los Alamos, directly across from the proposed site. I have quite a lot to unpack, so let's get started with my concerns. So the first one is how distressing the environmental impact report was. This expansion, as you know, would essentially bulldoze 7.28 acres of land. It would require cutting down 264 species of trees, which also includes 76 live oak, 4 redwoods, 18 valley oaks, olive, apple, walnut, and wild plum trees. So we're not talking eucalyptus here. This is actual species that support our diverse wildlife. I did hear and appreciate that replacing the trees was discussed. I would have questions. Some of these trees are, they're older than 100 years old. Would it be the same species being replaced? Would it be just landscape filler? So I have questions about that. We're also concerned, obviously, about the threatened species of amphibians, birds, bats, steelhead, and the noise and the light pollution. I did hear that there was attempts to try to mitigate that. Just from the PG&E work alone, it caused 8 months, or this is just an estimate, but a very long time of significant traffic delay and confusion in the area. This could not be a worse spot to build. It is such a dangerous intersection. Highway 12 and Los Alamos has had so many accidents as it is alone that to add more chaos into it is just only going to amplify the problem. On the other side of that, then you've got Montgomery, which is a major thoroughfare going to Spring Lake and Annandale. So again, this is for pedestrians, everybody accessing the bridge to Channel Drive, cyclists. It's a big, big problem as it is. Adding additional would be very concerning. And okay, I'm gonna run out of time, so I'm gonna skip over that. But wildfire risk, having been evacuated there many times, trying to get out, Montgomery is backed up completely. It was a nightmare. We sat unmoving for 30 minutes while wildfire and flames were coming towards us. There's no turnoffs, there's nowhere to go, you're stuck. And if you're gonna evacuate seniors safely, then it's a slow process. I see that my time is up, so I'm just gonna close by, can I just do my closing argument?
No, thank you, though. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. And
hi, my name is Elise, and my mama just did a great speech about why we shouldn't build that. And I'll be talking about the Spring Lake Village expansion project and why it should not be approved. Imagine noise, bright lights, traffic, and trash instead of a beautiful, tranquil meadow. That's all there will be if this project goes through. There are threatened species in that meadow, and beautiful plants grow there. For example, on my way to school every day, I get to see a rose plant, sometimes in bloom, and I call it the Rachel rose plant because my mom Rachel has her birthday close to when they bloom. And if this gets approved, over 200 trees will perish. And that's not all. This land has archaeological significance to indigenous people in the area. And worst of all, think about all the traffic. Horns honking 24/7, a car smashed on the road here and there, and danger everywhere. In short, this project should not go through. And if there is going to be a building there, then it could potentially harm populations of endangered species and the species themselves. And trees that have been very important and as homes for animals might be destroyed. And it's a huge environmental risk, and I've heard that people have been trying to solve that issue, but I just don't think that there's really any way to solve that except not building there. There literally couldn't be a worse spot. There's pear trees, wild plums there, and like marigold plum trees. It's just really beautiful. And there's all these beautiful flowers, and it's just a really nice place to be. And I don't think that it should deserve to get destroyed. And this is not about caring for the elderly. It's about trying to make a building for greed. People have been really greedy because they're trying to get money because they think money is power. Money is not power, and money is not happiness. Real happiness comes from nature, and that field is full of nature. If you go in there and you see that there are species there that really matter, you will learn that happiness isn't just from money, it's from nature. And sometimes it can be hard to recognize that, but it's really important too, because that's really something that you need to do in life. I know, Mama. And then I just want to say that I really don't see any good reason why this project should go through, because it's more about greed than caring for the elderly. And I really don't think that this project should go through, because there is significance to many people and species there.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much for what you just shared. I felt it in my heart. My name is Lori. I live at the Villa Los Alamos condos as well. I've been there for 30 years. And one of the main things I want to address is the noise impact. Now, I have lived there that long to where I've seen the difference with sound. In my room at night, I sleep with a white noise machine because of that 16-lane intersection. I've gone out there with a meter to measure the sound lanes, up to 200, and that's the truth, 200. That's from the stop-and-go traffic. You have all the different lanes all going. You get those big semis with the big air brakes, up to 200. And I just can't envision seniors living so close to that intersection with that sound. It is anything over 80, 85 is harmful to the inner ear, not let alone the stress level of our neural system. And the entrance is going to be right across from ours. We've already felt an impact of the change from so many people using Montgomery now, coming down short Los Alamos Road, the speed, the animals getting killed. We are going to be sharing that with this setup. Their entrance is going to be right across from ours. It's a short little road. It's going to be quite an impact. The noise alone, the noise alone. I watched them build the one down the road and the different phases. And a nice country road turned into a parking lot. There's cars parked all along the road now. The country road kind of went bye-bye. I do understand the housing for senior, but this isn't affordable housing for senior. This is high-cost housing. I could be wrong, but when I checked into Spring Lake Village, we thought we would move there. Back then, it was $5,000 a month to live there, and you had to buy into the place. I don't know, $100,000, $200,000, I don't even know what it is today. So please consider the noise impact, the safety of that road. We've had a car fly through the intersection, come right into our complex, hit 4 cars, and flip over at 8 o'clock at night. That's just one. And I live there, so I know, and I've seen the difference over 30 years. The noise is a real impact. 200 decibels, that's high. So I don't know how much study they've done when people come to visit, but if you live there day in, day out, you really get the feel and the sense of what the noise impact, the traffic impact, all of that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lucas Farley, and I'm going to read the closing statement that Rachel wanted to read. I close by saying I understand that there is pressure to solve the ongoing housing crisis, but this location at these intersections are not it. This is a super niche housing project, few of which are directed at a small percentage of the population, few of which will actually be able to afford living there. The people who will benefit most are a handful of Front Porch board members who don't live here, they live in Los Angeles, yet the negative impacts will surely be felt by the almost 26,000 people that live in Rincon Valley. Sonoma County is spectacular, not because of how many square feet we pave over, but how we balance nature with our urban interface. Now, I'd like to say that I get it. We live in America. Development is the critical component that drives all of this, manifest destiny, everything. And from what I'm sensing, this is pretty much a foregone conclusion that all of you will vote to approve this. But for me, it just, when I drive by the other campus, as it is called, I see a security guard out there. I see a closed-off community. I've never communicated with a single person from that campus area. All I ever do is see the guard, I see people milling about in their own cloistered community, and now I see that moving over near my area. I know from other people who live along Melita that the overall goal is to create a larger campus, that they are actively purchasing other parcels. So all I'm seeing is that this is the next step in a closing off of a cloistered private community in eastern Santa Rosa. And I just need to put it on record that you will be voting for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for questions, comments. I will start off with a couple of things that I heard, and if you could all chime in, that would be great. And I'm not sure if this will be for the applicant or for staff or for the consultant. So the question about the trees being removed and replaced, can you address that? Someone?
Okay, I could give that a try.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so for trees, yes, there's 264 trees that are slated for removal. 151 of those are non-exempt, which means they're bigger than the city's tree ordinance that says it's not a tree, right? So 151 non-exempt trees. 140 of the trees that are present are going to be preserved, with protections around them and preserved in place. And then the city's tree ordinance requires replacement with suitable common species and similar species to those that are removed. So that's the tree ordinance item.
Oops. Question around the intersection. The combination of county, city, State Highway 12. I'm not sure even what the question is, other than can you address the traffic issues and the intersection?
Yes, I can. So as I mentioned during the presentation, there's 8 master responses that were developed for common topics that were brought up, and kind of the collision concerns at this intersection as well as traffic were 2 of those. So in the final EIR, master response H as an example discusses kind of the collision history. So in the draft EIR, we looked at the collision history at that intersection, and you report the number of collisions, and they have it in 5-year increments. And we looked over the last 3 periods of 5-year increments, and there is a rate that is associated with intersections, and then to determine if there's a significant impact, you look at similar types of intersections throughout the state and what the rating is for those. So for this intersection, the number of collisions between 2011 2016 was 12. Between 2015 and 2020, it was 10. And between 2020 and 2024, it was 7, which gives a rating, I know this is kind of technical, of less than 0.29, whereas the statewide average for similar type of intersections ranges from 0.43 to 0.55, meaning the intersection here is showing to be operating more safely than intersections that are similar throughout the state.
Paul, can you come on down? Or go to one of the, whatever. The wildfire evacuation, we talked about this earlier in the first item. So can you talk a little bit about wildfire evacuation and how that plays in perhaps with the senior community?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Chair Weeks. Again, Paul Lowenthal, Division Chief Fire Marshal with the Santa Rosa Fire Department. So there's kind of a couple directions to take that question. First is to note that our emergency management as well as our fire department work very closely with care facilities across the city based on our lessons learned from our fire activity on measures that they can take to help handle some of their own essentially handle some of their own issues. So Spring Lake Villages, from a evacuation preparedness standpoint, is probably one of the most prepared facilities that we deal with the city and a private partnership. We actually exercise an evacuation plan with Spring Lake Villages, all the way down to the point of actually taking them to our temporary evacuation point on West 3rd Street, a place to play. So from a staffing standpoint, they're very familiar with our policies, our procedures, and how to mitigate impacts to public safety for their residents. From a general evacuation standpoint, yes, we obviously learned a lot here in our community following initially the 2017 fires. Made significant improvements to how we evacuate and evacuate effectively. In fact, we were actually so good at it now that we had to slow down our evacuation procedures in the 2020 glass fire that impacted this project location. There was a number of comments and some of the feedback we received from this project and other similar projects in this area regarding the traffic associated with the 2020 glass fire. It should be noted that that was traffic that we anticipated. Had we actually needed to evacuate the area more expeditiously, we absolutely would have done that. Regardless, we've made improvements to East Santa Rosa to improve the ability to essentially flush traffic out of East Santa Rosa. Our fire department worked closely with our partners over at Transportation Public Works as well as Santa Rosa Police, and to facilitate some of the issues that caused some of the backups on Montgomery Drive, Melita, Highway 12, we've instituted what we refer to as a flush plan, where we have the ability to control the intersections and the signals at the intersections and facilitate a quicker, more expeditious evacuation. Hopefully that helps answer your evacuation questions.
Yes, thank you. As long as he is standing up there, other questions for Mr. Lowenthal? Okay, thank you. Another question had to do with noise and the sound impact, and both the noise of the construction as well as the noise for the residents who will be living in these new units. And I'm not sure if the applicant can address that or staff. I know construction has certain hours that it can occur, and that would be something that would be detailed later on. Is that correct? And then if...
Correct. The hours of operation has to comply with our construction hours.
I'm sorry, can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Oh, correct. The construction hours have to comply with our noise ordinance. There are certain hours that they have to meet. And also there are mitigations included for the noise that is related to the construction hours. Brian, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mentioned during the presentation that there is mitigation for construction and vibration controls, as well as for making sure that the equipment and the emergency generator are sited such that they're meeting the noise limits. And that's done by an actual noise study that was prepared for the EIR, that they go out and they took noise measurements at the site along the roadways, along Highway 12. They evaluated, the increases in traffic noise that could occur from the project. They looked at what's the maximum noise that could occur during construction, and how would that be at the nearest residential area. So those are all discussed in the EIR, and then they run that through noise models, and then they identify mitigation measures that bring those levels down to below the threshold limits. So, and that's what becomes part of the EIR, mitigations.
Thank you. And could the applicant address the noise for the residents in the new units? Yes, sir? The public hearing's been closed. Thank you.
The way I would respond, in addition to working with the restrictions on time and the management of noise during construction, is during operations, we have communities that are in quite noisy areas in other locations. We have experience managing noise in terms of working with residents and not contributing to noise. It's more ambient noise than us contributing. One of the ways I believe we can work through some issues on this is using an electric shuttle going back and forth from the campuses. So we are reducing road trips and road noise from our residents utilizing both campuses. I think this is an area we have to be very upfront and continue to study. I think for residents who may want to live there, being very upfront about any noise mitigation we can provide, we are willing to do so. There was one comment, and I don't know if this is important, but it's a clarification. One of the commenters said that our board is going to benefit from this. We are a nonprofit organization. Our board members are not shareholders, they are volunteers. So our board members do not benefit. The entire organization utilizes any profits we earn to reinvest into our communities. So I just want to be clear about what a nonprofit means. Our board members do not benefit.
Thank you. Okay, those are the questions I had from the public. Do Commissioner Sanders?
Just piggybacking on the noise issue, I know we're talking a lot about the noise related to construction. We can't expect you to control the noise, the 200 decibels of noise on Highway 12. No. That noise exists today without the project there, right? So my question is, operational noise, we just heard about the electric bus, that helps. But just out of curiosity, what is the majority of traffic going in and out of the facility?
Sure, I can answer that.
Thank you.
What we would expect would be residents coming and going in their personal cars if they don't use our shuttle. We would have some food delivery because there is a dining facility in this community center. We would have staff vehicles who are supporting the residents there, and then maintenance trucks and landscaping. So it would be managed, again, something we would be very cautious about the hours. And I'm sorry, the last one would be waste removal, because that is always one of the more noisy trucks.
Do you have any idea of how many trips per day are going to be?
Given the size of the dining community there, it would be probably deliveries 2 days a week. The trash removal would also be 2 days a week. The maintenance and the landscaping, I don't have a handle on how many trips would be in and out. Again, we use a lot of golf carts, so those are electric vehicles. And then the staff parking, we're anticipating we could have 6 to 8 staff members in this neighborhood. So it would be the trips in and out for those shifts.
Do you know the size of some of these delivery trucks? Because as I was there, Los Alamos is pretty chewed up.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that really large trucks is not a great idea on that road.
No, they're not really large trucks. The issue for me is validating the size of the trash removal. I don't have that spec.
Really quickly, you had mentioned that the 140 trees will be preserved. Of the how many that are there now? 170?
Here we go. Okay, so the 140 are to be preserved and 151 are to be removed. You're going to have to do the math here. And that are non-exempt. Overall, 264 would be removed.
Thank you. And
I do have one just to kind of follow up on the response about your question about traffic for daily trips.
Please, thank you.
We have a traffic study that was done for the EIR. It estimates what the daily amount of trips would be, and it was 80. And in comparing that to CEQA threshold and guidelines, if you're under 120, it's considered a less than significant impact. So the project relative to that is less.
Thank you. And my last question is the property does it currently have public access? Are people using that for recreation or pear picking, or plum eating?
I mean, it's not sanctioned. If it happens, it's not like it's a devoted public meadow at this point. It is private property.
Yes, okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Sanders, I've got just one thing to add, and I will defer to our environmental consultant and noise expert, but I wanted to respond to your question about the 200 decibel measurement. We do have the actual measurements in the EIR as to it measures the existing noise and then the noise that would be added by project-generated traffic and construction and operation. And I'm not a noise expert, but I did just do a little quick research, and I wanted to point out that exposure to 200 decibels is instantly fatal or causes extreme catastrophic injuries. Such an immense sound pressure is significantly higher than a rocket launch of 180 decibels. Causes immediate eardrum rupture, severe lung damage, and potential severe internal organ damage. So I don't think that we're looking at 200 decibel levels. Again, I can defer to my experts, but I wanted to just put that out there.
Thank you, that would make sense. I have a guitar amp that's pretty loud and doesn't get anywhere near 200 decibels, and it hurts my ears, so thank you for that.
I apologize. I have a commitment that I could not change. So I have a colleague, Christine Gaspar, who worked on the AIR, and she will be sitting in for me now. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Any other questions by the commission on this item? Okay, so with that, we have a total of 5 resolutions on this item. So I think we'll do what we've done in the past when there's been multiple resolutions is we'll enter the first resolution, make comments on the project as a whole, and then go resolution by resolution. So who would like to, okay, Vice Chair Duggan.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending that the City Council certify the final environmental impact report, adopt the related CEQA findings of fact, and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Spring Lake Village East Grove project located at 5803, 5815 Melita Road, and 225 Los Alamos Road, assessors parcels numbers 031-101-026, 031-101-035, and 031-101-034, file number MJP14-012, and waive for the reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so that was moved by Vice Chair Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Sanders, and we'll start with Commissioner Sanders for comments.
It's a great project, and I can make all the findings to support the resolution.
And the future resolutions also?
And the future resolutions as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot about this project and the same issues we hear on most housing projects. What about fires? What about traffic? What about loss of open space? The difference here is we have an EIR that's looked at all of those things and said either they're not significant impacts or identified ways to mitigate them. And I think it's been well done and well prepared, and it's thorough, and I can support the findings for all of the necessary actions we take.
Thank you. Commissioner Cisco?
Yeah, I would just echo my commissioner's sentiments. I can find make all of the findings for this resolution and our future resolutions. I think it's a very well done project, very respectfully done. Trying to remember the last time I saw an environmentally superior alternative chosen and worked on, so I'm impressed, and I'll be able to make all of the findings on all of the resolutions.
Thank you. Commissioner Pardo?
I want to thank the applicant for your nonprofit organization. Older folks hold a special place in my heart, so I want to thank you for you guys' service. I can make all the required findings and an approval of the 5 resolutions recommended to the council.
Thank you. Vice Chair Duggan?
I too can make all the required findings, and as one of the 3 who sat on this initially years ago, 2021, I'm very happy to see that the reduced impact, the maximum avoidance alternative has been adopted, and that the applicant is going to use that alternative, because I think I was one of the people who preferred that alternative way back when. So I can make all the required findings.
Thank you. And I also can make all the required findings on this resolution and the future resolutions. And I also would like to compliment the applicant for all the hard work and the changing of the project to make it more compatible and I think an overall better project. So thank you. So with that, it was moved by Vice Chair Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton has recused. Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that all 5 resolutions, no, sorry, this
6.
resolution passes
Yes.
with 6 ayes.
Thank you. So the second resolution regarding the hillside development.
Okay. Is that the second one?
Is that the second one?
No, this is CP. Okay.
Sorry.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and determination and recommending that the City Council approve a minor conditional use permit for a 32-unit community care facility for the Spring Lake Village East Grove project located at 225 Los Alamos Road, 5803 and 5815 Melita Road, file number MJP 14-012, CUP 14-099, and waive further reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so once again, that was moved by Vice Chair Duggan and seconded by Commissioner Sanders, so we can do a vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton has recused. Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that that resolution passes with 6 ayes.
Thank you. And we have the third resolution.
Okay, I can make I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and determination and recommending that the City Council approve a hillside development permit for a 32-unit community care facility for the Spring Lake Village East Grove project located at 225 Los Alamos Road, 5803 and 5815 Melita Road, file number MJP 14-012, HDP 14-016, and waive further reading.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, so once again, Vice Chair Duggan, Commissioner Sanders.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton has recused. Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that that resolution passes with 6 ayes.
Okay, and now we have the fourth resolution, the rezoning.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council rezoning of the property located at 225 Los Alamos Road from RR40-SR Rural Residential Scenic Road to the PD 0308SR Plan Development Scenic Road Zoning District, Assessor's Parcel Number 013-101-026, File Number MJP 14-012, REZ 14-016, and waive further reading.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, once again, Vice Chair Duggan and Commissioner Sanders.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton recuses. Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that that resolution passes with 6 ayes.
And I believe this is the final resolution. It's the adoption of a text amendment.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council adoption of a text amendment to the Plan Development 0308 policy statement for the property located at 5555 Montgomery Drive, Assessor's Parcel Number 031-080-034, File Number MJP 14-012, REZ 14-016, and waive further reading.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Once again, Vice Chair Duggan and Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Cisco?
Aye.
Commissioner Horton recuses. Commissioner Pardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanders?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duggan?
Aye.
Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that that resolution passes with 6 ayes.
Thank you, everyone. And with that, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Planning Commission.